your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome into another edition of your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. It's Locked On Eagles, as always, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Louis DiBiase, Gino Camilleri joining you on this Wednesday edition of the show. Guys, it's episode number 3 this week of 5. Download it into your phone wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, Google, Stitcher, you name it. All platforms Monday through Friday. We're available on YouTube as well and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase, LOE, and at GC24_football. We got the Jets this week on Sunday. Gino has crossover Thursday tomorrow with Locked On Jets. We've got Locked On QB1 on Friday as well. Gino, a lot of quarterback talk for sure this week, but not just quarterback talk, playoff talk. It's a very winnable game against one of the worst teams in football, and the Eagles need it at 5-7. They're only a half a game back from 4 teams, 2 of which they have the head-to-head on, and the other 2, one has a ton of injuries, and the other one in Washington, you still play twice. So a lot riding on this important game on Sunday.
Well, talk about injuries. The Eagles look pretty bad.
Oh, my gosh. They got to get to that bye week so bad.
Yeah, this is the latest bye. I mean, I can remember, and I think it has to do, 14, obviously, with the 17th game on the schedule, right. Of course. So this team has been going since the get-go. They need to get to this bye week, and I think the Jets, although we lost to a bad Giants team last week, if you're going to come back from a loss like that, the Jets is an opponent that if you look at Jonathan Gannon and how he likes to compete against quarterbacks that are young or are in the top 15 or 16 of the league, he does a pretty good job with that. And building off of the performance that the defense had last week, you would hope that they carry that over and hope that the offense could figure it out against a Jets unit that should be able to see some movement on them as compared to the Giants, which you also should have moved the ball rather well, but we know what happened. But getting to this bye week, I think, is right now what you need. But you're in the middle of a run right here, Lou, in an NFC East that is much better compared to last year. I tweeted this out when Washington picked up that win on Monday night, that the NFC East already has 21 combined wins this year. Through this week, they had 23 all of last year. So you're going into these games down the stretch against an NFC East division that is better, and you already know, as I say, really, throw out the book when you play the NFC East, because anything, much like last week, can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Jets this week, again, it's a win you got to have because, as you said, it does get tougher with the Washington games, with the Giants matchup still, with the Dallas Cowboys game on week 18. And Gino, right now, of course, a lot of people are talking about getting back to the blueprint, right? Running, 70 to 80% of the time. Jalen Hurts showed you on Sunday, again, he couldn't really be the guy that you would because of throwing the football. But I think you got to be balanced still. The New York Jets are giving up the highest passer rating in the NFL right now. They're one of the worst passing defenses in the league. They're just a bad football team when it comes to pretty much everything they do. And so I think they also still need to pass the football, especially considering Jalen Hurts has had a bad ankle injury this week that's had his status up in the air. During his press conference today, he did say he expects to play against the Jets. Gardner Minshew getting ready just in case. But that's going to make you have to throw the football too, because you might not be able to have Jalen Hurts carry the football, 10 plus times against the Jets. And that leads me into my point that we're going to get into here before we take a break about passing versus running, right? Finding a balance. And, we talk all the time about all these different reasons why it's so important to find balance and why you need to pass the football and to have a complete quarterback, right? And there's a lot of things me and you have dove into for that, for reasons you do that to be successful long-term. One reason we haven't really mentioned came to my head after rewatching that Giants game. And it has to do with DeVonta Smith. Like when you watch Jalen Hurts that final drive, when you see him fail to step up in the pocket and find an open DeVonta Smith with the game on the line, the lack of targets and chances Smith got that entire game, the fact that Smith called for the ball that drive with Nick Sirianni and didn't get the football. You saw DeVonta Smith scream in frustration after the play. He threw his helmet on the ground on the sidelines. Look, I'm not saying DeVonta Smith is a diva. He is, to me, the complete opposite when it comes to his character, I'm not expecting halfway through a rookie year, he's going to want out. He's demanding a trade. He's causing drama. That is not what I'm trying to say. But what I do want to say about proceeding with caution here about who you are as an offense long-term, look at Minnesota with what happened with Stephon Diggs. Look at Odell Beckham Jr. in Cleveland. I don't consider those guys to be divas either, but eventually they got tired of playing in a run-heavy offense with a quarterback that couldn't get them the ball, and DeVonta Smith is just too talented to mess things up with, and he's too talented to not feature on this offense, and I want to see that against the Jets on Sunday.
I think you could toss Odell into the diva column.
Yeah, sure. Okay, maybe. Time. Yeah, okay, maybe you're right. About him. But Stephon Diggs, like I didn't think it was a diva at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think Stephon Diggs is really what.
And OBJ had a point to be frustrated. Let's just say that too.
Yeah, I mean, but look at Cleveland, man. That's the identity that they have, and they go against these pass-heavy teams, and you see what happens if they battle back. They're in the exact
that's my point
that Philadelphia is in, you know. And look at the Ravens, dude. When their offense isn't going right in the passing game, they know that teams are going to stop the run against them. It's one of those things that as a run-first offense kind of does limit you to an extent. But when you have a guy in DeVonta Smith who gets open as much as he does, and I want to break that last play down, right, Lou, in two facets. One, a game should never have to come down to that situation unless it's 41-33 in the Super Bowl, like they were up on the Patriots, and they have to put a perfect ball into the end zone, you know? But it is 13-7. Why you didn't execute in the first 59 and a half minutes of that game has so much more to do with that last play does, in my opinion. And we need to focus on that rather than that last play. But looking at that last play, I think there's a lot of blame to go around to everybody outside of DeVonta Smith who got open perfectly on his route. Jalen Hurts, yes, it might have been a tough throw to hit DeVonta Smith in the location that Jalen Hurts was in. Because if you look at that pocket, and one thing he has always done, and why you've seen him have to get outside of pressure, is because he drops back so much.
He's too far back, yeah.
Yeah, he's too far back that the pocket almost can't even encapsulate him. And one of the things that he fails to do is continually step up in the pocket with consistency. So one, he should have never left that pocket. It was way too clean. Two, he should have saw that space, saw that comfort, and moved up in the pocket to be able to see a DeVonta Smith who was wide open, and that pressure should have never been there.
Well, that's the thing.
Because it was a speed rush around the because.
But it's because of him. It's because of what he did.
Yes. If you break that, like when you scout players, they always say you have to look at the context of each play, right? Like Jordan Mailata might look bad on that play that the pressure got around him, but when it's a speed rush, Jason Peters did this for his career. You push that guy outside, he gets around, you did your job. That's 2 seconds. He's out of the play. Jalen Hurts has to be able to be comfortable in the pocket in that situation so that he doesn't have to do this scramble drill thing, and he could go through his reads and find the open guy, because it would have never had to come down to Jalen Reagor, who was obviously not the initial read. We knew what the initial read was. It's wide receiver one, the guy who is at 16th in the league right now, Lou, in DVOA. Of all wide receivers, that's bananas, with all wide receivers with 48 passes minimum. So that little facet on it. But he is a guy that he is so much better than your next best option at the wide receiver position. You should never even look anywhere else.
He's not involved like when you're, enough, man.
Yeah, if you're in the NBA Finals, right? And let's go back to 2010, I think it was, when LeBron hit that shot in Orlando. What if they just gave the ball to like Anthony Varejao? You'd be like, what the hell are they doing? Yeah, Mo Williams.
Here's Idrudis Ilgauskas. Take this mid-range.
I'm not saying DeVonta Smith is already in that territory of the Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, but he's proved enough and done more in that wide receiver unit than many guys that have come in here since Jeremy Maclin haven't been able to do. So regardless of situation, he's my number one choice. And even if he's not open, I'm giving him a chance like he did in that Broncos game, right, yes. Lou? We want to see him do that and have that comfortability.
And he's not getting enough of those.
Wide receiver number one.
Yep,
yes.
And he's not getting enough of those opportunities. Him and Dallas Goedert, especially in that game against the Giants. But, not only should they have gotten the ball more, that game was very telling about after those two, the options they have in the passing game and the reliability and how there's going to be some work in that area this offseason. We're going to get into that coming up next right here on your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, Locked on Eagles. And guys, today's show is sponsored by betonline.ag. BetOnline is back better than ever, a new web interface for the start of the NBA season and college hoops. You got more props, odds, and lines than ever before. They remain your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus. On your first deposit, just use our promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON to receive your 50% off welcome bonus. From basketball to football to baseball postseason, you got the NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Guys, this is Locked On Eagles. Louis DiBiase and Gino Camilleri joining you on a Wednesday edition of the show. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Gino, we talk a lot of Jalen Hurts. Today we're talking about the passing targets. Not happy with the lack of touches for DeVonta Smith. Mm-hmm. He wasn't either. Dallas Goedert as well. But I think in that game, although those guys needed more catches on Sunday, that game also showed the Eagles desperately need a third passing target. And while I love Quez Watkins, maybe four, Jalen Reagor, it showed like when they needed to go to that third guy, Jalen Reagor is supposed to be that, a 2020 first round pick. We said, great, DeVonta Smith, he's going to take the pressure off Reagor this year. The one time they actually needed him to be the guy that stepped up, he could not come through. And that's really been the case for most players outside of Smith and Goddard this year when it comes to the passing game. Listen to this stat from our good friend Jeff Kerr at CBS. The Eagles wide receiver tight ends, the last 5 games, not named DeVonta or Dallas Goedert. This is the stats. Quez Watkins, 10 catches for 83 yards. Second is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside with 2 catches for 36. It's Reagor with 36 yards as well, but he has 6 catches. Jack Stoll, 3 catches for 15 yards. That's it. I mean, I know they're run heavy, but you cannot be too deep in the passing game in 2021. And for as versatile as Dallas Goedert is, you can't have one of them be a tight end. Like, you got to have 2 receivers, at least one that is semi like Jason Avant level reliable. And the Eagles right now, don't really have that. I think Quez Watkins could be that if he got the ball more, but overall, like, the fact of the matter is, even with Quez, like, they're going to need another wide receiver in the offseason through free agency, a veteran proven guy that can play. They're going to need that for sure.
I posed this on Twitter and I went through the whole storyline of Jalen Reagor and what got us to that point. Yeah. In that offseason, DeAndre Hopkins was traded. Stephon Diggs was traded. Both good receivers, guys that Philadelphia should have had interest in. I know that there were discussions. They were in those discussions for sure. Then you go into that draft, right? And instead of trading up to get Sedarian Lamb, who your rival then takes, you wait and sit on your hands. And then Justin Jefferson, who I know you didn't like, Lou, but a lot of people did like, was there on the board at 21
for a while now.
Oh, absolutely. Just like my Josh Allen take. I get it. I get it. Then you end up with Jalen Reagor, right? And you're sitting here and you're like, oh man, is this Aguilar all over again? And it's like, at least with Nelson, you saw something, right? Yeah. Like he came out there and proved himself in that year that he had a bad year. Jalen is now doubled up bad years, and he's progressively getting worse. And the thing is, they're not using him in the spots that he needs to. And the one bright spot that he has, Lou, as bad as his receiving DVOA is, which is currently minus 30.1, Lou. Minus 30.1. That's at the bottom of the list. That's right towards the bottom. In the rush game, though, Lou, he has a positive DVOA, a positive 17.9. So if they could get him involved in just Put him in the backfield. There's clips of him at TCU where they use him in the backfield with a quarterback who is much, much worse.
So you're saying like kind of what San Fran's doing with Deebo Samuel?
Yes. The thing with Jalen is once the ball is in his hand, outside of the return game, I think he could be effective in the offense because he is one of those chess pieces that you put him in motion, they're not going to respect him until he actually does something. But if he can't catch the ball, you have to do it in other facets. But at the end of the day, if he just isn't going to produce and he just has something going on that is outside of football that maybe he won't be able to put it together, and inside of that building, they see something that we don't, maybe it is time to be a little bit patient. But I don't know about that because I look at a guy like JJ, right, Lou? Like he's at least helping you on special teams. Like Jalen's just a deterrent everywhere.
But even in the areas, you're talking about with the reverse game and, using him in gadget plays to get him the ball easier, right? Where he doesn't have to win himself, right? Manufactured touches. He still isn't doing enough. Like for me, considering how much better Quez Watkins is in that area.
I mean, anything's better than zero at this point.
I don't know though. I'd rather have Quez Watkins get those touches. I'd rather have Kenny Gainwell get those touches, and even DeVonta Smith. You're 100% right that's what you have to do to get any sort of positive.
It's not all on Jalen Reagor though. Let's make that. He's not the only bad egg in this group for sure right now.
But he's definitely the most disappointing because he's the one you need.
For sure. I mean, he's the most rotten of the eggs in the bunch. He would be the one that you threw out first. It would be the one that has a little crack on top that you probably didn't even take that carton home because he shouldn't have been drafted at 21. And we all know that at this point over Justin Jefferson. But Lou, I look at the rest of this group as well. Quez Watkins, he needs to win his one-on-ones as well. Like he's got to get out there and get open. And Jalen has to trust him because he does make plays in that 50-50 ball area.
Oh, he did against the Giants. He made a great play down the field.
Absolutely. And he's done that throughout the season. And he needs to continue to get back to that. And the one thing that I saw in that game, Lou, that as bad as it was, that I saw as a bright spot, when they put Kenny Gainwell in the slot, not in an empty look, I said, we might be onto something here because you saw what he did at the end of the game, Lou.
3 catches for 32 yards on the day.
Yeah, we talk about the idea of who should be getting these manufactured touches, these touches in spatial areas. I want to see Jalen do well just because it's like you want to see your asset pay off. But I'm giving Kenny Gainwell the ball. I'm not even putting Greg Ward in that situation either. I'm putting a guy like Kenny G out there because he is the most maybe the third best receiving option on the team right now, Lou. He could potentially be the third best receiving option on this team.
I think the route was bad that Quez Watkins ran early in the game that helped lead to that interception. But, again, he made another big chunk play. And I think he really, because of the run game increasing and because they're trying to get Reagor the ball in the certain areas that Watkins thrives in, he hasn't really been a huge part of the offense. I mean, this was a guy early on in the year that was on pace to surpass 900 yards. He's been consistently throughout the year atop the league in yards per catch. And so, unlike Reagor, although Quez isn't a complete guy by far yet as a receiver, at least you're getting the chunk plays that you want out of Reagor.
Right.
So
he's creating explosive plays for sure.
So I would like to see him get more chances.
Game, and that's all you need.
For sure. So while I'm not saying you definitely need to add a guy this offseason, I don't want Quez Watkins as our number 2 wide receiver. I do want to see him down the stretch here get more opportunities in space to win. Take those touches away from Reagor, give them to Gainwell, like you're saying, give them to Watkins, like I'm saying, because those guys are just simply more efficient with their plays. And so, and they're earning that. I mean, to me, it's like, eventually you got to reward players for, putting in the work and not making mistakes consistently. And I don't know, I mean, outside of the drop in Denver and that bad route against the Giants, I mean, Quez to me all year has been way more impressive than I think most expected. And so I want to see, Quez get the ball more in space and through not just screens and reverses, but, mesh concepts, pick plays, just get him in the open field because he is so lethal. You've seen how many times he can turn, a 5 to 10 yard play into a 70. We've seen a 90 yarder this year.
Yeah, I want to get back to that point that during the Super Bowl when they were running those mesh concepts, you see Nelson Aguilar, and I forgot
Aguilar thrived in those.
They slapped each other's hands because they're like, we're going to run this route so well. They did the mesh concept and they completed it. And that's exactly a type of area I want to see Quez be involved in. Like you saw that deep over route against Denver 2 weeks ago, right? When they just waited or 3 weeks ago now, DeVonta Smith for that route to just come open and Jalen Hurts just sat in the pocket. We need more of that. And Lou, I need to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Seth Joyner, who is somebody who people in Philadelphia listen to on a regular basis, I don't know why, but he said that they are asking Jalen Hurts to do too much. And do you know how many passes he threw in that game last week, Lou?
I think it was it 30? Did he get to 30?
31. So if you even take a game that, say it's 65 snaps on offense, that's not even half of your snaps. If you're in a game where you're down by 2 scores right out of the gate, you're probably going to have to throw more than 30
And
times.
how many times did he throw at the end on that final drive, Gino? So it was probably more in favor of the run game anyway.
Absolutely. And that's the thing with the balances. We talked about this weeks ago. When the plays are there in the pass game, you have to connect. You have to be efficient because you're not – it's like one of those offenses in basketball. I always think of Virginia because Syracuse has upset them so many times. They run this offense where they just pass and pass and pass and run the play clock, down to 4 or 5 seconds till they get a shot off. And if they're not efficient, they're not going to get many possessions. And that's where the Eagles are. They're an offense where they're going to run the ball. They're going to take time off of the clock. But when the pass game is there, you have to hit. You have to be efficient because you can't run the ball 10 plus times on a drive and score without one pass.
Too many people talk about setting up
times.
Yeah, too many people talk about the run setting up the pass, but it's got to be the other way around as well. And so they got to get DeVonta Smith more involved, Dallas Goedert, Quez Watkins for sure this Sunday against the Jets. Guys, today's Locked On Eagles is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the perfect time for Built Bars. Built Bar is the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie has upwards of 300 calories, and that's on the low end. Most Built Bars are only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with coconut Built Bars or go for a raspberry Built Bar instead of the raspberry pie. Lots of good flavors to replace any pie this holiday season. They're low in calorie, they're low in carbs, low in fat, high in protein, and best of all, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Built is a great option for when you're hungry. If Christmas isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or 2. Share some at your family gatherings. It'll make things less awkward. Maybe Aunt Betty hasn't tried a Built Bar yet. New surprises all month. Limited time flavors arriving at Built.com regularly. So check the site often. There's nothing like a Built Bar throughout the week. It's all of the flavor and none of the guilt. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15. And you're going to get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Guys, this is Locked On Eagles. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. Gino, wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the show, we're talking about the passing game, finding a balance, finding more passing targets for Jalen Hurts or whoever the quarterback is going to be. You got to find more targets for Smith and Goddard, but you got to find a third guy too that's reliable. And although we want to see Gainwell more involved, we want to see Quez Watkins more involved, the fact of the matter is this offseason, they've got cap space. It's a good pool of free agents when it comes to receiver. You have a lot of draft picks too. They're going to need to get another receiver in here. And I mean, obviously I feel like Allen Robinson would be the dream, but I really like this. You know, we're going to get into it deeper in free agency, but a quick look at the free agent receiver group. Like you got Michael Gallup, you got Mike Williams, you know, Christian Kirk, even a Zach Pascal cheaper option would be better than what they have right now. I think they should, like they did in 2017 for Carson Wentz, you know, get that Alshon Jeffrey or even a Torrey Smith, you know, something, because you look at it's kind of interesting. Like 2016, they went the young approach, right? With it was Dorial Green Beckham, it was Jordan Matthews, it was Nelson Aguilar, but then they brought in Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith, and that kind of righted the ship. You got one of those guys in DeVonta Smith. I would love to get another one. I feel like that really helped in 2017, and I feel like it really helped in 2022.
Yeah, I do like that approach, right? And you have right now a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, quote unquote.
And you might have another one.
Quarterback. Yeah, you're still evaluating him as a rookie, I should say.
Right.
But you're right. You're going to have a cheap quarterback for the next couple of years. And that was one of the recipes of success for many of the teams in the past couple of years to get to the Super Bowl. Philadelphia, especially with that Carson Wentz deal at the time, they were able to bring in Nick Foles. on that backup deal that allowed them to get to that point at the end of the year, but it also allowed playmakers like Alshon Jeffrey to come in, Torrey Smith to come in. I even look at the draft, and you mentioned a guy in Alshon Jeffrey. I look at Arkansas's Treylon Burks, and if people haven't watched him, just look up a highlight film. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. This guy had a bummed knee playing Alabama, and he was still able to put up points and still able to do well against one of the kind of receiver you need right now, man. The kind of guy. That's why I keep saying you need a compliment to DeVonta Smith, because he plays big, right, Lou? He likes to play big, but if you could have a guy that you could have two true man beaters that can beat you in a multiple different sets, go back to the idea that we talked about in the Super Bowl run of building that basketball team at the pass catcher position. You got your power forward right now with Dallas Goedert, if small center if you want to. You got your two guard and DeVonta Smith. Get yourself a swing three in Treylon Burks or Mike Williams or one of these guys. Maybe Devontae Adams does come open in a trade, and you could get a guy like that, because you need multiple guys, multiple athletes, and multiple elite players, Lou. DeVonta Smith is just one elite player. Dallas Goedert's a very good player at his position, right on the cusp of elite. But two guys isn't going to get it done. This is not the NBA. It is an 11-man team, 11-man game. You got to have multiple pass catchers. Look at the best teams in the league right now. Look at Kansas City. Look at what the Bills are doing. Look at what the Rams are doing. They're just dream teaming it up out there.
Rondale Moore is like their fourth option in the passing game.
You can never have too many of these guys. Yeah, you can never have too many of these guys. And if you want to have any young quarterback see success, you should continue to put playmakers around him, regardless of the expense. And regardless if you picked one in the second round in 2019 that isn't living up to expectations, one in 2019 in the first round that isn't living up to expectations, or 2020 rather, you have to be able to continually add weapons at that position. What was the problem with Carson Wentz? He continually didn't have weapons around him. He goes to Indianapolis. Look what's happening there. Any good quarterback, any young quarterback needs guys he could trust in the pass game, but two isn't good enough. You need a handful of these guys.
I definitely agree. It's going to be a fun offseason for sure to talk about those players. We'll continue to get into it. Make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Eagles wherever you get the show, Monday through Friday. We're available on all platforms, on YouTube as well, and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. For my co-host, Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.